gentlemen, I'll call this meeting of the April the 7th Town Board to order. If anybody wants the public comment session, now's the time to sign up if you will. I want to welcome everybody. It's good to see a big crowd tonight. The first thing on the agenda is our Pledge of Allegiance, and I usually have the Vice Mayor lead this. Girl,
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is the adoption of the proposed agenda, and tonight we have some changes we need to make. We need to, okay. We just need to move a couple of things around. Right after C, when we finish C, the town hall option of purchase, I'm going to call about a 5-minute recess. There's some housekeeping we'll have to do on that, and I will hold it to 5 minutes, I guarantee. We're going to move perhaps the gazebo right after that. Then we've got a presentation from the Venture Local, and we're going to move the gazebo discussion up a little higher in the agenda. Does anyone else have any changes at all? Any additions, subtractions? I'll entertain a motion to adopt it as the changes. Okay, have a second? Okay, all in favor? Good. Okay. All right. The next item is the approval of the March 3rd, the March 25th, and March 31st, 2014 board minutes.
I hate to be the spelling maven, but
Right.
Nikwasi was misspelled.
Okay, can you tell us where it was? We'll get it changed. That's all. I'll appoint you a committee if you want to find it and change it. Okay, duly noted. Any further changes? Do I hear a motion to adopt the minutes?
So moved.
Okay. All in favor? Okay, that passes unanimous. For the public session, Bruce Kohler. Welcome, Bruce.
Welcome, sir. First of all, I'd like to thank the board for considering several stop sign changes in the Pauline Avenue area. I live on Pauline Avenue. You've heard about various issues with speeding, accidents, damages to homes, personal injury with my stepson. But I just want to make sure that you consider not only the change to Pauline Avenue and Uncle Drive, but also Pauline Avenue and Pauline Circle. That one location at the top of that blind hill. That's where the personal injury happened. And people flying off that hill have hit our vehicle. And I would really appreciate it, because coming up off that hill, you're heading west, you're heading into the sun. Half the times you're blinded. You also have a school bus sitting down there. You've got children from the top of that hill all the way down to Lanthros. And people are just flying down there, to include a town vehicle. Just several times during the day. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Bruce. Appreciate that. We'll sure take that into consideration. Mr. Hernandez. Tony
I
Hernandez.
withdraw for now. I wanted to wait to hear what's being said about the gazebo.
All right, sir. Okay. Mr. Williams. Mr. Dan.
Little small complaint. I travel around the country and I see this problem all the time. You get in schools and office buildings and hospitals and apartment buildings, like they all got the same problem. And it's not really rocket science, it's not a big deal. And I'll show you what the problem is. y'all paid $1 million for the building. You got that slamming door over there. If you ever went to Radio Shack, Berlin's got a big, beautiful door. It's probably been there for 50 years. I don't know if you ever been robbed, but zero noise. It doesn't make a bit of racket. And if you ever went to the picture show, they got these big wooden doors. Zero noise. It's not that complicated. And y'all got that door that slams and slams and slams, and there's no reason for it. I went to a conference in Atlanta, and I paid them $800 to go to the conference. About an hour listening to that slamming door, I finally got my money back and left. And I never did hear anybody talk. That door was slamming so much. There's no reason for it. And I don't know, there's a different control. You can adjust it, or I don't know. But they sure got it figured out at the movie theater. I hate to pay to go see the movie and listen to them doors slam all night long, but they got it all figured out. Not a big deal, you know?
Well, Dan, I might have a solution. You don't mind standing there and kind of letting it shut quietly. So,
Okay.
okay, thanks, Dan. We appreciate it. Anybody else for the public session? Angela, do you want to?
I did. I'm sorry, I'm running a little behind.
Okay.
Had some car trouble. Got that down. Good evening. I wanted a chance to speak at the public session because I know that on the agenda tonight is the decision for the position on the planning board. The planning board has made a recommendation. I did apply for this position. The planning board does not have any codified requirement to make a recommendation for their own membership. So I wanted to come before you tonight to ask that you consider me for the planning board position. I have applied. I'm not sure if Justin will share the resume I submitted, but I do have copies of that for everyone on the board. I think that I have long showed my commitment to the town and to the board, as well as having some experience in the realm of planning during my time being employed here, and continuing that involvement as a private citizen in the years following that. So I would appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Anybody else? Going once? Twice? Okay, that takes care of the public session. Thanks to all who signed up. The next item of business is the proclamation for Public Health Month. Dawn Wild.
Good evening. Thank you for considering the proclamation declaring April as Public Health Month. As you know, public health is concerned with protecting entire communities, whether that be a local neighborhood or an entire country. So we would like to ask that you declare April as Public Health Month here in Macon County.
I'd be delighted to. John, do we have to read the proclamation or can I sign it?
I think we usually do, but
Okay.
there's no requirement.
Okay.
Just need a motion and a vote.
I said it's pretty long if you don't.
It is, yes. And, okay, I'd be delighted to sign it.
No.
After that's a motion, okay. I
We
would
need to
I don't know what I
authorize
do
your
with
signature.
signature.
One of those
Okay.
silly rules. I make a motion that we sign the proclamation.
Okay, okay, all in favor? I'm glad I've got you guys on my right hand.
And we would like to remind everyone that we'll be having a kickoff event of a community walking program on April the 26th at 8:30 here at Town Hall. So we'd like to invite everybody to participate. Some of your board members here will be participating in those walking events.
I'll be glad to come around.
That's what we're counting on.
Janet's gonna sign this and she'll give you the signed copies.
Okay.
Thank y'all so much.
Yeah, put your bond.
Oh, okay.
Look at the picture.
Oh,
They want to know if they can get it.
sure. Oh, yes. All right. Sure. Make sure you get.
Sorry.
We'll give you the original.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Appreciate it. Ms. Sloat, Lady Sloat, about some street closings. I think you've got a long list tonight. Good.
I always come in January and give you a list of street closings, and now we have some additional ones. We have a group of car enthusiasts. They're not a car club. They just would like to come on Friday nights, and they're asking for Iola Street to be closed on Friday night starting April the 11th and going through September on the 12th from about 5:30 to 9 o'clock. That's the first one. The Vietnam Veterans Chapter 994, which is our local chapter, is having a car show on Saturday, October the 11th. So they're asking for Phillip Street and Iola Street to be closed from about 8 a.m. to about 3 on that Saturday. And they will be having a fundraiser, and they raise money for their scholarship fund. The next one, instead of Bobby coming, I went ahead and did this for Bobby Cantina for the Arts Council. They are asking for Iola Street to be closed on Friday, May the 23rd, and Friday, October the 3rd, from 5:30 to 10. That's their Freedom Rocks concerts. And Taste of Scotland is the other one I'm asking for, and that festival they're asking for on Friday, June the 13th, to close Phillips and Iola Street from about 5:30 till Saturday night about 7 o'clock. And that's the normal street closing that we have for the Taste of Scotland. So that's a lot of additional ones compared to when I was here in January. That's it.
With the board,
I'll make a motion that we close those streets as needed.
all
of them?
grouped together. Okay. Second. All in favor? Okay.
Thank you.
Get the barricades.
Yep, there you go.
Okay. Old Town Hall, offer to purchase, Town Manager, Mr. Cady.
Mr. Mayor, the offer was advertised that you approved at the last meeting for the upset bids. The town did not receive any upset bids in the process that we're legally required to advertise. So at this point, it's basically up to the board to make a decision on where we go at this point with the offer you have on the table. I'm sure Kenny has more information.
The Aldermen, each of you have in front of you, and as part of the agenda packet, a resolution that incorporates all of the terms of the proposed lease and option agreement. The only substantive change in that agreement really from the last version that you saw is that the $5,000 option price is not offset against the total purchase price. It's something that that Ken and Lenny were willing to help us out with, and appreciate their negotiating on that. And just in general, they've been a pleasure to work with on this. As Warren said, it has been through the upset bid process. There is it's now before you to either accept or reject. The way to do that would be a motion to adopt the resolution and to approve the lease and option agreement.
Anybody on the board have anything you want to talk about? Yes, I do.
Or what expenses do we have that will still be facing us if we go ahead with this? I mean, I know there's some things we've got to do. They're going to pick up the major repairs and stuff that we originally was going to do. But is there anything else that we have to do? Do we have to do any assessments or?
Their folks are actually doing their due diligence on asbestos inspection and the environmental assessment for the property, which we don't know the results of those as of yet. There's an issue with the roof. We do have a roof leak that no matter whether, and we were down there today looking at it, no matter whether they purchase it or whether we keep it, we've got to address that roof. So there will be some expense. In the meantime, we've got to fix that no matter what. Trying to think, John, if there's anything I'm missing. Otherwise, of course, obviously utility expenses, the month utility expenses from now, whenever the arrangement's made.
Lease and transfer to them.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
Anybody else? Okay, I will entertain the offer to accept. If someone would like to make the motion, John, you have a specific motion that I should read?
No, Mr. Mayor, it would just be a motion to adopt the resolution and the lease and option agreement.
Okay, someone like to make?
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
We adopt the resolution.
And second. All in favor? Okay, let's give it about 5 minutes. I need to sign some papers, and Matt, if you get ready for your presentation, bring the computer up to life here. And, it'll be about 3, maybe 5 minutes. Okay, folks, we'll come back to order. I appreciate your indulging that while we have a little signing there, a little paperwork. The next item on the agenda is I try every month to have a non-governmental organization to come make a short presentation to the board. And tonight, we're having Matt Bateman with Venture Local. Matt?
Thank you all. I appreciate the time, and I'll try to make it as quick as possible. I know it's a big agenda. Matt Bateman on behalf of Venture Local Franklin. I'm sure you guys have all aware of us and know kind of a little bit about what we've been doing in the community. I just want to take some time to bring you all up to speed. Who we are, what we do, and what we've done moving forward. The beginning of Venture Local Franklin started back in November of 2011. We're right at 2.5 years old. It was a small group of business owners and entrepreneurs that got this movement started, that went to a Venture Local conference in Asheville. It was an Advantage West initiative, and we wanted to bring something back that we could apply to our community in a very grassroots, organic way. Who we are. We're an inclusive group of small business owners, retirees, and concerned citizens, both young and old. Very diverse, which is very nice and very refreshing aspect. Our vision, I'll just take some time to read this. Venture Local Franklin promotes positive and sustainable community advancement. We value inclusive participation, which is both action-based and outcome-focused. VLF strives to collaboratively strengthen the regional economy, embrace our natural resources, and nurture entrepreneurial ventures with the ultimate goal of positioning Franklin as the leading community within our region. That's a mouthful, but as we go through this presentation, I hope that you guys will be able to see this vision unfold for you. And I think you will. Representation. Representation on behalf of Franklin. Well, we were invited to several events, and I'll run through these. Venture Local Summit. It's kind of ironic. The original summit that we attended in 2011, I was invited back as a panelist representing Franklin in Asheville. Also the NC Entrepreneurship Summit, I was a panelist there. That's part of the NC Real and another initiative of Advantage West. And I was the only representative west of Asheville at both of those summits, which is a pretty cool thing. Presented to the Macon County Commissioners, the Rotary Club, Lions Club, League of Women Voters, and some local men's groups as well. Just on what we're doing, kind of like what I'm doing right now. Here's a picture from the Rotary Flywheel, which I had the opportunity to do. Initiatives. This is our foundation. We have monthly community hangouts. This is for collaboration and idea sharing, and it is where all of our initiatives are born. Monthly direction hangouts. This is the nuts and bolts of our process. It's a small group of really leaders that come up with new ideas and put them into motion. VLF Connect kiosk. We had this set up at April Fool's Trail Days back in 2011. It was a way to just add an extra layer to the event and offer hikers coming through a chance to check their email. We had computers set up, and we wanted to take them in and say welcome. Street Fests. It's pretty self-explanatory. A festival in the street. Our goal and our thinking behind that was to bring people downtown and have them spend money with our local shops and local businesses. A direct effect on their bottom line. We did that through a number of ways, and you'll see some pictures a little bit later. And cut off. Here's some pictures of our monthly hangouts. Large groups of folks coming together again, collaboratively thinking about new ideas, sharing new ideas and how we can put them into motion. There's our booth at April Fool's Trail Days. Again, here's some hikers on the computers using them. Something very simple, but something that says, hey man, that this community cares. Street Fest, that was our logo that we put forward and promoted. There's streets packed, the downtown gazebo, live music going on, big flyers and promotion. There's another view of the street. We helped, we worked with the EDC, I guess that's what got cut off from there to go, on their Biz Week. We were a sponsor of that, helping get people downtown or to their event to promote entrepreneurship in Franklin. A few more initiatives, Cash Mob Franklin, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. If not, I hope you'll learn more a little bit later. I'll go into a little bit deeper detail with that. We had a 16-week Venture Local series in the local news media. How often you get 16 weeks of exposure for no cost? What a great partnership. Those series talk to local business owners, different industries, just to expose them. There was no cost to these businesses to be involved. It was a very, very good organic thing to have come about. Town Board Candidate Forum, all you guys were there. We had so many folks running for town board. We wanted to give the public an opportunity to hear from each of you, to know who they're voting for. Town Hall discussion series, and again, I'll go into this a little bit more in detail later. We just had one of these on the gazebo. We want to bring the community together, share ideas, and see what comes of it. Colasaja Gorge Highway Cleanup. We developed a partnership with the Highlands Chamber of Commerce, the Franklin Chamber of Commerce. This used to happen years ago, but we kind of revived it, kind of pulled together and promoted it. Last year we had 25 volunteers on behalf of Franklin, which is pretty cool. We about matched Highlands initiative on that. And we cleaned up the Colasaja Gorge. That's an asset. And again, going back to our vision, that's a natural asset that we have to take care of if we're going to be the leader in the region. Here's a picture of a cash mob gathering down at the clock tower, holding up money, cash money that they're spending with our local businesses. Big group, huh? Here's a picture of the forum that we had at Macon Bank. Packed room. And here's a picture from the gazebo discussion last week. Another good group came out for that. A picture of this was all us getting geared up to go clean up the River Gorge. Behind each of these initiatives is strategy. From initial idea to final product, we use a strategic approach. We ask ourselves three crucial questions. What do we expect to accomplish? Is it sustainable? Is it inclusive? Then we put it into motion. Promotion begins. We use social media well. We utilize e-news, flyers, and word of mouth. Promote, promote, promote. No matter what it is. If the business on downtown's having a sale, we'll pump that out on our Facebook page, and on and on. Okay, a little bit more about Cash Mob Franklin, some of the impact. There's 3 rules. Actually, let me step back. This is our Premier Shop Local campaign. If you want to call it anything, this is what it is. There are 3 rules. Commit to spending $20 at the business, socialize, meet 3 new people, and have fun. How simple could it be? We're averaging, this is our impact, averaging 38 mobsters. Getting 38 people to do something in a small rural mountain town is pretty impressive. I'll toot my own horn on that one. 2.5 days of revenues in 1 hour. And I'll say that one more time. 2.5 days of revenue in 1 hour. Pretty incredible. So those folks are spending well over $20 a pop. It's pretty cool. And the community benefits, our Pay It Forward initiative. Part of being eligible to be cash mobbed, the business agrees to give back to the community in some way, whether it's a portion of sales, volunteer hours, on and on. We've had a number of ways to give back to a nonprofit or a charity, which makes this initiative so well-rounded. I'm very proud of this one, as you can probably tell. A few more pictures. of Cash Mob. Yeah, as you can see, all ages enjoy our Cash Mobs. Just a diverse group, young to old. It's awesome. Okay, Town Hall discussion series. A little recap on that. We had 65 attendees come, made up of stakeholders, citizens, media, you name it. There's some great collaboration going on. Right when you walked in the door, we had our designers sit up on the tables. They had designs to go over, and they were talking with the people that come, and ideas come from that sort of thing. We also had a sheet there for folks if they didn't feel like speaking up or sharing their ideas publicly to fill out, and we filled in 35 of those comment forms, which hopefully you'll hear about a little bit later from our attendees, and that's awesome. And planning for series number 2 has already begun. We'll have more information on that coming soon. And here's another picture from the discussion series at the Tartan Hall. Connect with us, Facebook, Facebook.com, Venture Local Franklin, or on our website, VentureLocalFranklin.com, or email. Again, I kind of blazed through that, I know. I'm a fast talker sometimes. But thank you for your time. I know you've got a full slate, and thank you all for what you guys do. I know community service is it's a thankless position, so thank you very much.
Matt, thank you. Any comments from the board?
I have a question, yes, real fast, quick. Man, how many people do you email out on this? How many's on the email list?
Right at 700.
Okay, 'cause I know I get one from you every time there's something.
Yeah, we were right at 700.
That's a real good way of getting that information
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Anybody else? Matt, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Appreciate that.
We'll close this
Okay,
down.
we moved up the gazebo discussion. Mr. Kate?
So I'll defer to you, Mr. Mayor. We're just going to add that back on the agenda to see if there's any further discussion or any other issues we need to discuss about the gazebo.
Okay.
Obviously, you got some folks I said that wanted to do a presentation on the
Okay.
information.
Ms. Moore, do you have the presentation?
Yes.
For the gazebo, okay.
I'll try to keep this a little bit short. I passed out a packet with a summary of the comments that we heard repeatedly, as well as the list of those 35 comment sheets that we had filled out. We compiled all of those so that you all could go through them and read them. On behalf of the League of Women Voters and Venture Local, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. And I want to thank those of you who attended our town hall discussion series on the gazebo property last Monday. We had a great turnout with over 60 attendees, several design presentations, and a lot of feedback that I hope will be of assistance to you as you make your decisions concerning the property. Suggestions and opinions ranged the entire spectrum from doing nothing to large construction involving complete demolition of the current gazebo and reconstruction of an elaborate stage facility. There was support for each design presented, but I'd like to highlight some of the opinions that were expressed repeatedly. Again, these aren't my personal opinions. This is what we've tried to compile from what I heard from people, speaking to them individually, what people presented during the moderated session that we have, as well as a compilation of those written comments that I handed out to you all. General comments about the property design included that the design should match the downtown area or the spirit of Franklin, and that the property should reflect the natural setting, for example, the mountains, the outdoors, etc. Also along these lines, there were several people who passionately spoke out about the use of artificial turf or artificial rock on the property. I believe that their dislike for these things stems from their dislike of the artificial turf on the clock tower property. Another point that both designers and individuals addressed was the location of the stage. The two primary suggestions were to either use the existing gazebo and stage base in order to preserve history and conserve funds, or conversely, to move the stage to either the north side or the northeast corner of the property. That's up there near the bank and back towards that parking lot, to better utilize the space. if more funding was available. Obviously, that would be much more involved construction. Some very specific design ideas that were presented by designers and then endorsed repeatedly by attendees through public or written comment included storage space under the stage as opposed to walk-in storage space, rotating panels behind the stage for acoustics and aesthetics, incorporation of local history into whatever new structure may be built, open space designs that allowed for more flexibility in the use or staging of the property, as well as the possibility of adding lighting to a stage area for use during later hours. A final concept that was brought up several times was to do nothing or to do only minor repairs to the current facility. This suggestion had roots in both an affinity for the current structure as well as a desire to conserve public funds. To address the pop-up tent, it was suggested that bands could play under the gazebo or at the back of the stage and allow dancers to use all or most of the stage as was done in the early days of Pickin' on the Square. I'd like to take a moment to address the topic of restrooms on the property, something that I know has come up repeatedly. I heard a lot of comments in the public session a few months back. Both opinions for and against the restrooms were expressed. After reading through the comments, listening to presentations, and speaking with individuals, a couple of additional possibilities for restrooms arose with interest on both sides. Those opposed to restrooms were opposed to having facilities adjacent to the stage area or, in some cases, on the gazebo property, but not necessarily in the larger downtown square area. Those wanting restrooms did not seem to have any strong feelings about the location as long as it was readily accessible to visitors in the town square, both during festivals and during normal business hours. These opinions would imply that restrooms located in the general vicinity of the square, but not adjacent to any future or current stage facility, would satisfy most people with concerns about the restrooms. Another inexpensive suggestion that certainly had support from both sides, although not from everyone, was improving signage to the courthouse bathrooms. This would be a quick and easy fix to offer public restroom facilities during both business hours and festivals. Regardless of choices made in the long term, this could inexpensively meet a real need for local businesses, tourists, and the community at large. Pursuing this solution would allow for immediate short-term benefits and the potential for long-term savings if signage adequately addressed the problem. Again, I appreciate all of you who came out to our discussion series, and I hope that each of you will take the time to read through the comments collected through the event. I know that we had a lot of people who put a lot of time into those comments. We look forward to setting up our next discussion series, and I want to thank you all again. Are there any questions?
Anybody on the board? Any questions? Ms. Moore, thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Good job, appreciate it. All right, moving right on. The Hospice House Foundation of Western North Carolina. Michelle, police officer.
Good evening, everyone.
Pull that mic down a little bit. There you go.
Thanks for letting me come on such short notice. We've certainly had some wonderful presentations here tonight. I don't come to these meetings often, but this was really nice, really exciting. Well, as you know, I'm a member of the Hospice House Foundation, and we have been working hard to raise funds to build a 6 inpatient hospice facility for our community. It will also serve, as you know, the surrounding counties, all the way to Murphy, really. We are it would actually cover 2,500 square miles. Patients from all those areas can use the hospice house. There's no hospice house west of Haywood County right now. So we've been working real hard. We've gotten our certificate of need. We got that in November of 2012. We purchased the Dryman property on Maple Street. It's a 2,600 square foot brick building. A lot of folks think that the building is the hospice house. I know people have stopped by and they say, you know, when are you opening? And we say, well, the house that we have purchased on the 2.74 acres, we're going to use for the family area and a chapel and some home care offices. And then we are going to add on the patient suite and, care area. So it takes a lot of money. And our budget is $4.3 million. We got a $1 million challenge grant from State Employees Credit Union, and we have raised almost $1 million in private donations. And right now, the reason I'm here tonight is we are wanting to apply to the North Carolina Department of Commerce for a $100,000 building reuse grant. This used to be the North Carolina Rule Center, which I think you probably have dealt with before for projects in our community. And now it is under the North Carolina Department of Commerce. And because it's under the North Carolina Department of Commerce, a government entity has to be the applicant. And we have a grant writer that will be doing all the work and preparing the application, but we are, asking the town of Franklin to be the applicant because it has to be a government entity. That's the rules with the North Carolina Department of Commerce. The grant, if the grant is funded, the town, as the government applicant, must contribute a cash match of 5%, $5,000 to the project. To offset this match so that the town actually does not contribute any of its own funds, the Hospice House Foundation will pay the town an administrative fee of the $5,000, which we can do. Our grant writer has checked with the people at the Department of Commerce, and that is pretty, common to do that. So we would take care of that. If the application is funded, the town would also technically have responsibilities such as the following. Basically check up on what we're doing, the project. Of course, we will make, all reports, to you. You're not going to have to you can get involved as much or as little as possible, but we will always be there to answer any questions, open our books, give you our progress. So basically that's it, and I think Warren Cave has talked to our grant writer, Mark Goldstein out of Arden, and we're hoping that maybe you can consider doing this. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions?
Any questions?
Mayor, I've got a couple of comments. My first concerns when we first started talking about this with Mark and the grant writers and Michelle were opposed to the match, the 5% match. Obviously, we're not cash flush by income. So they answered the question I had about the cash match as far as the money would have to be put into the program to make it workable. I had some concerns about our labor force, the number of folks we have, and our ability to actually do a lot of the requirements in the grant, the paperwork, the upkeep, and they have answered those questions, basically saying that they'll essentially handle those. We still have to keep our eyes on it. We have to look it over, and I'm sure if I were in your shoes, I would want them to come and give us some rather regular reports on progress so that we can keep up with them. And honestly, just as a matter of record, the board has done one of these in the past. I believe the last one we did was Angel Medical Foundation. It was with the Rural Center then. There was some issue with that one, and apparently the funds didn't get expended and they never actually used the full amount of the grant. But one of the things I looked at was, has the board ever endeavored to do this before? And it has. That doesn't mean you won't do it again, but it has been done before. So the questions and concerns I had actually got answered. So at this point, I guess it would be up to you all as far as whether or not you want to try and proceed with it or not.
You might want to discuss it further. Yes, Mark.
What would be our involvement? None whatsoever, except that the grant writer's going to put our name on the application?
Essentially, that's the way I understand it.
Right.
We can
There's one thing that has to be done. We are going to, I think it's May 15th is when we have to have the application in. But before we do that, there has to be 7 days before that a conference call with a representative from the town and myself and our grant writer with the lady at the Department of Commerce, just so everybody is on the same page about what is happening. And then after that conversation, from what I understand, then Mark is almost finished with the application, but you'll all be able to read it, and then it'll be submitted, and then hopefully we'll get it, because we need it.
Ms. McCray?
I was just gonna say, I'd like to see us help them if possible. I think it's a tremendous need. My husband was in a hospice house at the time he died in Asheville. Very inconvenient for people.
I think we all support it. I mean, they have my mother out tremendous. I guess my question to John Jr., is there any ramifications for us getting involved in this?
If everything goes well, no. I mean, I can't promise you.
I guess
Everything's good, no?
I have a question. If the funds are administered by the town of Franklin, the town, they have to submit invoices to the town for the work that they're doing, and the town writes checks for that. It's coming in the town's name, I understand.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, we would essentially put up the $5,000, which you would give us the $5,000, we would put the $5,000 up as the match. But the grant itself, the funds would come.
Well, they'll come to the foundation, and then it'll just go into our building fund. And when we reach our goal of the $4 million, we'll break ground, and that'll go towards, the cost of the building.
And you're saying we have every right to be looking at?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
It's not like
it's open,
right.
book. I mean, we have a good treasurer who's a CPA,
But
and, we're.
Isn't that grant a contingency on you hiring? I've worked with those commerce grants before, but there's some contingency in there that you have to hire so many people.
Yes,
all this.
and we meet that criteria. We wouldn't be able to apply for it, and our grant writer is, yes, it's got to have so many, it's based on how many people you're employing.
Yeah.
And also, this being called a building reuse, they're wanting buildings and communities to, not sit vacant and, be used for a purpose that will be good for the community, and that's why we're applying for it, because the Dryland property is going to be used for a good purpose for the community.
Yeah, I think the state would want you to use that money up first and not wait 3 or 4 years till you get the.
Well, we certainly hope it won't be 3 or 4 years. We would really like to break ground at the end of the year, and, so we're working hard at trying to get all the money. So if you know anybody who would like to help.
I would have to see the full grant agreement, which Mark, I think, is still working on the entire grant.
Yeah.
Verlin, I guess the question that you're actually asking, and this would be my concern, if they receive the money, something terrible happens and perhaps the money doesn't get used for what it's supposed to, or one of the criteria is not met, and our name is on the grant application, would we be liable to have to repay some of that grant funding?
That's a good question, and I'll talk to Mark about that.
See the agreement.
I mean, we can't use it for, it's for the building, so it would just be there if everything,
Free job.
Yeah, building great. I think it's so needed in this county.
Could we go ahead and, approve it contingent on Warren, our attorney, making sure that we have no liability in this? Yeah.
And I would also add in there that there's some regular reports back to the board as far as the status of the project and for the money.
Would you like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve the application to the town for the hospice foundation, contingent on the town manager and our legal group making sure that everything is within whatever. I have no problem with it as long as we make sure that we're covered, so.
All in favor?
Thanks so much.
Ms.
We'll
Wilson,
keep you posted.
I want to apologize profusely. I skipped right over you. Well, I'm sorry.
All of them.
No.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm sorry. I'm new at this.
We're going back to D.
We're going back to where we were supposed to be a minute ago.
I'm right there.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Board. I'm here on behalf of a taxpayer, Miss Susan Hopkins, and she's requesting a refund of taxes that she's paid to the town. Been being taxed in error through an assessed value with Macon County for a mobile home that she did not own it. Mr. Jeffrey Bryson owned the mobile home that was on the property that belonged to her, and he was being taxed and paid the tax as well. So in doing research with Macon County to prove that she in fact did not own the mobile home, we were able to take $28,100 of value off her total assessed value, and she is asking for a refund in the amount of $432.62 of the taxes that she's paid.
Julie, I got your email questioning the verbiage, illegal tax. The tax laws first require you to know what you have listed, but then if you can assert a defense to a tax, and you have to, as a taxpayer, assert one of only 3 defenses in order to get a refund like this, and it's either was imposed due to a clerical error, or it was an illegal tax, or it was levied for an illegal purpose. So it doesn't matter which one of those you call it, as long as it fits into one or more of those boxes. Now, we can consider that either clerical or illegal. It's illegal in the sense that it was tax levied and paid 2 times on the same piece of personal property. But whether you call it clerical or illegal, there is no other consequence to the town other than that they are due a refund of the extra tax that we pay. That's our only liability.
The matter actually stemmed from the county listing that double, and then we paid the counties on that, so.
Yeah, that would be an assessment.
We're
And your listing, probably not really a collection problem, but we collected it and they're entitled to get it back, so.
We went for several years. I know how that is. You don't look at your taxes good each year.
Okay.
I make a motion, we refund.
In release, because they're looking for a release.
Actually, a release for this year since it was as of January 1st. So we'll refund this amount and ask to release the 2014 taxes.
Yeah.
The release today.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Setzer, Mr. Town Planner.
1 of 5 tonight. In your packet, you should see a application for an eligible facility request for Pennington Law Firm, also for Verizon Wireless at the 90 Cunningham Road site, cell tower site, and in that application, they were applying for an eligible facility request, which is stated in our wireless telecommunications facility ordinance under section A 14507B for eligible facility request. I've looked through the packet. They've paid their fee for the eligible facility, and from everything that I see, I was certified as an eligible facility request. In the request, they were removing 9 antennas and replacing with 13 new antennas, adding a microwave dish, adding lines of cable, 2 surge protectors, and 5 remote radio heads. They are not increasing the height of the tower at all, and they're not doing any groundwork, which all of that is covered under eligible facility. And so all I need tonight is an approval from the board that it to go on, that they can begin their work.
And this is one of those where the federal regulations that filter down to us have made this a real easy thing for you folks. It says, if it's eligible, thou shalt pass. So
All right, so we need a motion for approval of the application.
Yes, sir. So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, all in favor? Okay, thank you, sir. Is that it?
For now.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute, okay. All right. The stream restoration project at Memorial Park, that was the Crawford Branch. Mr. Case.
Mr. Mayor, in your package, you actually have a grant application for the Duke Energy Carolinas Riparian Enhancement Fund. It's a fund of money that Duke opens up occasionally to do stream restoration projects. And, I was actually talking to Ben Laster with the Land Trust of Little Tennessee, and he was interested in doing a project on that in the town. And essentially, he suggested that we apply on behalf of the town of Franklin for this funding. Land Trust for Little Tennessee will actually assist us if we so desire to do some restoration work on the Crawford Branch section that runs through Memorial Park there, which will, there's a set of color handouts I actually gave you. The most important ones are the second and the third pictures in the project. Essentially what it would consist of would be sloping the banks back, stabilizing the banks, doing some appropriate plantings on the bank to maintain the stability of the bank, and also allowing for some access areas for the public, because we know that folks like to use that creek, but control those access points so that you don't have folks just tearing up the bank all down through there. And then the second part of that is the last picture here. We actually have some runoff that comes off of the parking lot of Memorial Park. And one of the things you can do with that is to do something similar to a rain garden or some sort of a particular planting type arrangement that will facilitate the capture of that water, filter out anything that comes off the parking lot before it gets actually back into the stream. To do that particular section of the Crawford Branch through there, including the rain garden, is roughly $51,000, a little bit over, as our estimate. With the Duke money, Duke will chip in essentially $20,000 if we receive the grant. We've also got some commitments from some other folks. Macon County Soil and Water Conservation District essentially committed, if we receive this grant, $2,200 that can only be used for stormwater retention projects such as the rain garden. The Land Trust is actually going to allow Ben to essentially manage the grant for us, so that will be some in-kind contribution from them. Essentially, they would manage it instead of our staff having to go through the grant process. And then the LDLT actually has a grant through the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to help do some stream restoration stuff that they were excited to use on this particular project. Long story short, out-of-pocket cash money for the town of Franklin would be basically $10,000. There would be some in-kind money where our folks would have to go in and perhaps, we talked about some sort of split rail fence along part of it, some backhoe work that our folks could actually do, some of the labor that our folks could do to offset that would be used for part of the in-kind match from the town. But essentially, if you so desire to apply for this grant, and there's no guarantee we'll get it, but the application date is this next Friday. It wouldn't actually be feasible to start till after July, which is in our next fiscal year. You already budget $5,000 a year, particularly for Memorial Park. It would essentially consist of doubling that to $10,000 to get your cash match, and then proceeding with that project, which we put a time frame in of 2 years. Realistically, it's probably going to take less than that, but that way we have plenty of time to get the project done. And it would also consist of some education stuff with the LTLT. They would like to put up some signage there to tell people what's been done and use it as an example of things that can be done for streams, and particularly the rain garden or the runoff collection. But if you so desire, we actually need approval to submit the grant application to you.
George, you're sort of in charge of the Memorial Park. What's your feeling on that?
That creek and that stuff really is worn down. I mean, you walk out there and it's the runoff, but it has just been running off, and when we had that problem with that line that we had to fix, the erosion has been terrible with that area. I think it really is needed.
One of the other things I meant to mention, and it's a financial question, that's not a reimbursement type grant. Once we receive their approval for the grant, they mail us the check for $20,000, and at that point we spend the money on the project. We don't have to spend the money up front, then ask for reimbursement. It gets paid up front.
You have a comment?
We need to, I think that park is used tremendously by a lot of different organizations and stuff, and they always have unions down there, and they've got kids down there. It's a liability for playing in the creek now. To kind of shore up that, and also it's an environmental issue with all the runoff. I think we ought to go after it.
Okay. Have a motion?
I make a motion, sir.
All right. Is that- Okay, all in favor? Okay, that passes. Okay, Mr. Setzer, rezoning petition for Macon County, Town of Franklin.
Now I'm back for a while. Okay, also in your packet, you should see a zoning petition from the town of Franklin, but it's for Macon County and town of Franklin properties. These properties are located, which the primary property is the landfill Macon County owns, and the other properties that they own around it, adjacent to it, like the where the collection facilities is, and their office, and and 3 of them are town properties as well. One's a vacant lot, and then one's a sewer plant, and the other is the Public Works building. Why this come about is government facilities are only permitted in Industrial 1, and majority of these properties, except for one, are zoned Commercial 2, which is still a nonconformity. All these residential zone properties are a nonconformity. So we're trying to get these in line with the industrial uses, which they are supposed to be permitted at. And there should be an attached map. You'll see all the pieces highlighted in blue, and I think there is 9 parcels, 6 from Macon County and 3 from town of Franklin. And I'm just recommendation to send to the planning board to look at it further in their recommendation.
A motion to that effect, any
Motion to
discussion?
send it to the planning board.
Okay, no discussion.
Second. Discussion, okay, don't
Okay.
worry. If you want to do discussion?
Oh, it's second, no discussion, right? Okay, all right, all in favor? Okay, sir.
All right. So next should be, I've got the recommendations back from the planning board from last month on the Porter Street and East Palmer properties. The rezoning from Commercial 1 to Commercial 2, those 6 parcels. And planning board did recommend to rezone all those to Commercial 2. You should see the staff report and the recommendations in your packet. And it's just now need to set a public hearing for that, if you so bid.
Anyone got a comment on it? Discussion?
Only that the motion for this needs to specify at the regular meeting on May 5th at 7:05.
7:05. Okay, somebody like to make a motion?
Make a motion, schedule it on May 5th, 7:05.
Second. Okay, all in favor? Okay, I think the next item is J.
J is the appointment of the vacant town of Franklin position on the planning board. This was actually a seat that I had to vacate when I took my new job, and so we sent out a statement on the town's website and to the local paper for applications. Received 2 applications, resumes, submitted those resumes to the planning board and let them look over them, and their recommendation to fill that seat is Peter Mosco, who has been serving as an alternate on the board.
Okay, so does that leave the alternate position vacant?
That'll leave me with a vacant alternate if you
It does. Okay.
appoint him.
All right, any discussion?
I think if the board went ahead and recommended it.
So are you making a motion to accept it? Okay, is that a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Is that unanimous? Okay, appointment to the Friends of the Greenway Board. Mr. Cave?
Mr. Mayor, we'd actually received a request from the Friends of the Greenway to actually have a board member appointed to their board of directors.
Actually, I think we had, when I did those initial appointments, sometime back, we appointed Ms. Abel because she's with Recreation. Would that be all right with the board?
Absolutely.
It does need to be a motion and a vote.
Yeah, I know, yeah, I'm getting ready to do that. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we appoint Ms. Abel.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor? All right, moving right along then. Okay. Application to amend text only of the Unified Development Ordinance for a microbrewery, the Group of Land Use Administrator, Mr. Setzer and Town Attorney.
All right. After some discussion, we thought things necessary to add some criteria to the UDO for potential microbrewery or brew pub. So Town of Franklin created a application for a text amendment for a brew pub and microbrewery. Done some research, got lots of information from other municipalities, counties in the state, and how they've governed microbreweries and brew pubs. In your packet, I believe you'll see the application and the actual ordinance with the definitions that I gave to John and that John wrote up with where the permitted uses will be. And so in a sense, we're just going to define what a microbrewery is. The definition for a microbrewery is the cut and dry definition off of the U.S. Brewery Association, in which the majority of all the other municipalities across the state use as well. And while we were at it, I figured brew pub, we threw one in there for it as well, just so we would have something for that classification as well. And it's since come off, it's the standard, which the only exception I added was the barrel limit. Most of them didn't have any barrel limit, and I added the barrel limit so we could permit those in C1. And in a sense, a brew pub would be submitted in C1, C2, C3, and then industrial one, the UV, and I think it's the PCD districts, and the microbrewery would only be permitted in the C2, C3, and industrial districts. So, thing left is I need a recommendation to send this to the planning board as well, for them to look over it and make any changes if need be.
I don't know that I can refine anything that Justin just told you, but I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Anybody have any questions, Justin or Ken?
So we couldn't have one downtown?
You could have a brew pub downtown.
It's a smaller operation. We're saying that microbrewery, and that doesn't have to, that's not set in stone yet until it comes back and we vote on it. But I think that's, the idea is that a brew pub is a fairly small operation that's going to be more like a restaurant and more fitting in a C1 and on up. And microbrewery is more of a, like a manufacturing.
Yeah, the only classification we had was private club or restaurant. And from conversations I've had with the North Carolina ABC Commission, if we set them as a restaurant, then they'd have to meet all the restaurant criteria. So this was setting them more of a criteria of what they'd be used to.
So you need a motion to take this back
To the planning board.
Any further discussion? Anybody have any other questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion that this item be sent back to the planning board. Okay.
I second.
All in favor? All right, Mr. Henning, set a public hearing for application for Mantec.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. The board has in front of it the regulation on outdoor display, retail goods. I think we have had some significant with a recommendation from the planning board. The only change that they made at all was the recommendation to change the height regulation on outdoor display to 6 feet in height. The position you're in now is just to schedule a public hearing for this, so there's more time for study and discussion on this, but all that'd be required tonight, if you don't have any questions, is to set a public hearing for Monday, May 5th, 2014 at 7:10.
Any discussion, questions of Mr. Henning?
More comment on?
7:10.
7:10, next board meeting. Okay. I'll entertain
What
a
was the,
motion.
can I ask, what was the height before you changed?
7.
7.
Waiting for a motion.
I need a motion.
Okay.
A second.
All right, all in favor? Okay, streets. Who's got the streets?
That would be me, I think.
Okay, so
A couple of separate and distinct issues we need to, let's address one by one through here. The first, obviously, the first item of discussion, you've already heard some comment during public session, is the Pauline Avenue area and Elko Drive area. There's been some concern brought back to us as far as perhaps more control over the intersections, particularly, I guess you'd call it a three-way stop at Pauline Circle and a three-way stop at Pauline Avenue and Elko Drive would perhaps regulate some of the traffic flow through there. So before we made those changes, I actually talked to Joyce, who's our streets liaison, told her about some of these issues, so I think she's been out to look at some of those, so she may have some input on those, but essentially we wanted to get some input from you before we started actually changing the intersection, see what you want to do with those.
I've ridden through there and I could go either way, actually. But certainly I would rather err to the safety point than not. Anybody been up in that area to see, have a feeling that we don't need it, we do need it?
I'm kind of like you are.
Yeah, you're about the same life, I think.
Do you want a motion on each one of these individually?
Let's do the Pauline Avenue area as one, and whether you want to do just the intersection of Pauline Avenue and Elko and make that a three-way stop, or whether you want to include the Pauline Circle area and make that a three-way stop.
Any feeling by the board?
I feel like the neighborhood is concerned about the safety there.
So your motion would be to err on the side of the neighborhood? Okay.
But we need to make a decision, that's the discussion, one or the other. I think we all agree we need to do something, but what do we want to do?
I say we go with three-way stop sign.
At both intersections or just in one intersection? Because there's two distinct intersections. You've got the Pauline Circle area that cuts into Pauline Avenue, which is what Mr. Culver's talking about. And then you've got the intersection at Pauline Avenue and Elko, where Elko comes up the hill, turns to the left back down toward the apartments, and Pauline comes down right there with the Myers that live right there, the stop sign. Right now, currently, you have to stop on Pauline Avenue coming out. Elko Drive is through traffic all the way through.
Still want to go with that motion on what the neighbors want?
That was just a comment, I wasn't making a motion. Yes, I'm just supportive of what you want, but yeah, I'm making a
You okay with that, Joyce?
Yeah.
Your streets, okay, you want to talk?
Three-way on both.
Three-way on both.
Yes.
You feel that's going to be the safest, the safest?
Yes, Mr.
safest?
Nidiffer would love it, and we would love it, because we've been affected tremendously by the speed of folks coming over
Hopefully
that
we'll
hill.
stop speed, but I don't know.
Well, it'll stop them enough
Yeah.
to look and consider before they proceed down.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Is this something that you just brought to the board, or is this spill into the neighborhood now? You know, we're talking about.
They have mentioned it before at board meetings about the speed, the issues there. I've talked it over with some, not all of them, but they do say there's an issue with speed, and I've talked it over with.
I'm interested in putting them up, but I just want
You know,
to make
it was
sure
either, either
at the
request
May
a speed
meeting that we
bumps
don't have-
or police presence, but speed bumps are looking at, roughly $1,000, $2,000 for each set versus stop signs that will just make people stop and think before they continue up around over that hill.
And obviously, Mr. Mayor, you have the option, they obviously want something done very quickly, but if you, to be completely comfortable, if you need another 30 days, you could always hold it till the May meeting to have time to go to specifically look at the issues that are there, if you're happy with that.
Does our police chief have any feeling one way or the other?
I'll be happy to ride around with him one day and point it out. If the stop signs are more appropriate,
Okay.
speed bumps are more appropriate.
Okay. Okay.
Wait another 30 days?
We've lasted this long.
I think the right way to do this would be a motion to table until.
To table it?
That
Okay.
particular.
I'll entertain a motion to table.
Yes.
Tabling number 1.
Yes,
Till
ma'am.
next month.
Yes, ma'am.
That'll
And
give
in
us
the
all a
meantime,
chance to go take a look at it.
Go take a look at it. Second? Okay. All in favor? Okay. All right, stop sign and intersection change on Lamplighter Street and Skylark.
Mr. Mayor, this is actually the town of Mountain area, we've had a request from some folks there that if you're familiar with Lamplighter and Skylark, you actually turn off of Town Mountain and make your way on the Lamplighter. Lamplighter comes out the top of the ridge and then turns straight down the hill, and Skylark, it turns into Skylark, even though you're going straight ahead. The Lamplighter sort of turns into Skylark straight ahead. The Lamplighter makes a sharp turn to the right and goes up the hill on top, and there's another street up on top. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Apparently there's some concern with the neighbors that particular intersection where Skylark and Lamplighter intersect is a blind intersection for the folks coming down the hill on Lamplighter, trying to look back towards Skylark. So their suggestion was to keep traffic from having an issue there, that there needed to be a stop sign actually in Lamplighter Street. As you come down the hill from Lamplighter, back toward Town Mountain, stopping the folks on Lamplighter so they could stop, look, and take a look back down Skylark so you don't have any traffic issues there. The only concern I have there, and Joyce, I know, has been to look at this one. You're cutting a main street in two, and the intersection is actually Skylark. Skylark is kind of an odd intersection. One road becomes another, and Lamplighter turns off, so it's kind of an odd intersection to put a stop sign in, but it's completely up to you all as far as what you want to do with it.
Is there a stop sign now on Skywalk?
No. And if it would make people stop to turn and look,
Looks to me like that's where the sign ought to be,
Yeah.
if there is one now.
Logistically, yes, because obviously I prefer to put a stop sign where a street ends and keep a through street current.
Right.
There are some extenuating circumstances at that intersection because of the angle that when you come down the hill at Lamplighter, the angle at which Skylark intersects is close to a 30-degree angle somewhere in that neighborhood. So there is a hard way, there's a hard look to look back to the right to see the traffic on Skylark. So I do understand that there's some issues there. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joyce, as far as looking.
No, they're looking, yeah. But it is difficult to see, and if people would stop, I think they would. I make a recommendation that we do put the stop sign there on Skylark. No.
On Lamplighter.
On Lamplighter, it's coming down. On Lamplighter, it's coming down.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay. No further discussion, all in favor? All right, stop sign, yield sign on Maple Street, I may have to weigh in on that one.
I do too.
On the end of Maple Street, on the Georgia Road end, there's a yield sign. And there's been some concern that perhaps the yield sign is not appropriate there because when you do come to the yield sign, there's an extreme angle. You have to look back to the left, which is less than 45 degrees, which I don't believe if that were for a DOT intersection, I don't think they would allow a yield sign because I think you have to have a 45-degree or 90-degree path to actually see oncoming traffic. So there has been some concern brought to us that perhaps that yield sign needs to be changed back to a stop sign to make everybody stop there have time to look to the left, and I don't know if David wants to make any mention of that or not, but that's the concern that brought to us. So before we change that back to anything, we want to basically get the consensus of the board.
No,
Absolutely.
no, yes, go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
No, I think the traffic's flowed much better with the yield sign.
Have you ever been coming down that other street and they just shoot right out in front of you, you have to get your brake?
About 5 times a day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chief, do you have any?
We've looked at it for the last couple of years, most of the officers, we think a stop sign's more appropriate. And eventually, if we can get the state, maybe make it a 3-way stop or traffic light, that would make it safer.
I will say this, it's in the top 1% of something that needs done out there. It is a dangerous intersection.
It's very dangerous.
And frustrating intersection.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Huh?
Thank you, Mr.
Oh, you're
Mayor.
welcome. I just wanted to tread on your territory there.
We just treaded it.
That's the only time you can actually yield is after the traffic's coming, because the traffic through there is just terrible.
Oh, it's awful.
I can't get
I
out of
think
my
it's so
road.
frustrating waiting and then they.
The problem is if somebody's trying to turn left and
Oh,
school is
yeah.
getting out, just forget it.
You can't do it.
Just go on down to Bojangles and then turn around.
Go to the next block, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, what do we want to do? We want to let the chief look at this and come back with a
I think he
recommendation?
just made a recommendation.
I think stop sign's more appropriate.
I make a motion to put a stop sign on Maple.
Okay.
Just-
I can live with
Replace the yield sign.
And replace the yield sign.
And let's make sure that that gets in the media so nobody runs the stop sign. Is there a second?
We had the yield sign up for about a month.
No, I never stopped there. Okay, all in favor of replacing the yield sign with a stop sign? Okay, y'all notice I did not vote. Okay, Watauga Street, one way.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. There's actually been some discussion between us and East Franklin School and some concerns about traffic on Watauga Street. And actually doing some research in our code of ordinances, we actually still have Watauga Street as a one-way street. However, apparently for over a period of time, we weren't able to look through every 7 minutes for the last untold number of years. But apparently, it has been a 2-way street because back in, I believe it was 2008, representatives from the school came to the board and talked about construction was going to be ongoing, and they would like to request a change in the street from 2-way to 1-way for a period of 18 months to facilitate construction. And apparently now it's migrated past that period, it's back to a 2-way street, and there has been some discussion from the school asking that particularly during the school hours, there's some issues with traffic. Folks trying to do pickups coming down the hill and 2-way traffic trying to come up the hill back up toward Randolph or somewhere in that direction, it creates issues. So basically, we need some clarification on exactly what you think that street needs to be so we can properly post it and enforce it. And I think it's just one of those things that over the years, it's migrated from one to the other, and perhaps the code ordinances was never updated to reflect the changes that the board may have intended over the years.
I'd like to kind of weigh in on that just a little bit from the safety angle. That street really, when they're unloading buses and children, parents and all, it's just it's a nightmare. It's 2-way traffic.
I will, as a matter of disclosure, in your package, there was copies of minutes from some meetings after the fact when, I think when the board made a decision to go one way, there were some folks that showed up that didn't like the 1-way traffic. So I would anticipate perhaps at the May meeting, there may be some folks that don't necessarily like that. But
Well, how about if we just did it during school hours?
No.
No? No?
One way or another, that's going to confuse everybody. It would require
Yeah, because
someone there.
Saturday is it gonna be 2-way, and I remember it, and I remember one particular person that came, and he's not in the area anymore, so I don't know how much opposition there would be to it.
obviously, I know those are complicated issues. It's not something you're comfortable with tonight, even if you tabled it tonight and actually did a little more research, then I'm sure that's, as long as the school knows that we're actually considering the options and we're trying to nail down exactly what the requirements are, so that the police department, if they're enforcing that, they understand very clearly what the restrictions are.
I remember years ago that we did change it to 1-way for the period of that construction, which I thought was approximately 2 years. In again, I don't know.
Out of sight, out of mind.
The issue ever came up again.
So they couldn't until somebody came and complained.
Well, after looking at this agenda, I went over there and talked to several of the businesses in that area, and they're against a one-way street because they use that to come back around into their business. It's down there below, so.
Well, do y'all want to just table it? You want to table it?
Table it,
Everybody
everybody
goes
goes
over
take a
there?
look at the size of everything.
All right, somebody want to make a motion to table it for the next board meeting?
Make the motion to table it to the next board meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, it's tabled. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's, we went through an agenda pretty quickly, including.
Just got one more though.
Which one is that?
7A.
Oh, that's, I'm gonna get to that. Oh, okay, that's not
closed session.
I'm sorry.
Just don't jump ahead because, you know, I'm an attorney and I get paid by the word, so I can stretch this out all night.
Please don't.
You remember who has the gas?
Mr. Mayor, now that the town has properly and officially leased with option to purchase the old town hall property to an organization with the express intent to manufacture alcoholic beverages on that property, you better make it legal under your ordinances. We didn't put it in this order to twist your arm or anything, but there is, and as we discussed at the special meeting on that topic, an ordinance, it's Section 130.01 of the Town Code Ordinances, and just says no person shall consume malt beverages unfortified wine on the property owned by or occupied by the town. I think that next part of the sentence is what it was really aimed at, because it says including but not limited to public streets, boulevards, alleys, rights-of-way, sidewalks, and parks. I really think that that's what the focus of that prohibition was supposed to be. But just to clarify that, consumption will be lawful at the town hall, old town hall property. I'm suggesting an amendment to say this section shall not apply to property leased by the town to any third party for the express purposes of operating a brew pub, microbrewery, restaurant, or similar enterprise, provided that on-premises consumption of such beverages is otherwise permitted by law. So if they can get an ABC permit, and the only property this is really likely to ever apply to is the old town hall. But anyway, that's my suggestion for how you change that. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I make a motion that we do whatever we just said.
Adopt the ordinance.
Can I quote you exactly?
And I'll accept that
To
motion.
adopt,
Is there a second?
adopt that, Mr. Penning, sir.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor? Okay. I'm sorry. Okay.
I didn't ask, but.
Okay, well, I apologize too, because every time I see the word legal, I think it's a closed session, so. We do have two closed items here, two items that we're going to take up in closed session. I don't know, will there be any news to come out of this after the? Okay. All right, the ladies and gentlemen of the Fourth Estate, you're perfectly welcome to wait around.
We need a motion.
Okay, well, we're getting ready to go into motion. I'll entertain a motion and move into the closed session.
And it needs to cite both the purposes that are on the agenda.
Closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318. That's to preserve the attorney-client privilege. And then we have a closed session of personnel matters. All in favor? Need a motion. I thought we had the motion, okay. All right. Joyce, make your motion, please. So moved. To go into a closed session. Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay. back into open session, and I have one item I would like to announce. We need to pass a motion that we act on Mr. Cade's letter that we accepted. Is that not what we?
Yeah.
Mr. Cade has given us a letter of resignation effective the beginning of May, and with great reluctance, we have accepted it.
So is that a motion?
We need that in motion.
That is a motion.
Okay, is there a second? Second. All in favor? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was the subject of our closed meeting, and I'll now entertain a motion to adjourn. Is that second? All in favor? We're adjourned.
What's it down for?
Thank you, sir.